about your love. Yeah, there's something about your love. Smooth like cognac, I'm so in love.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Whisky Geeks. My name is Tim.
Hey, and I'm Alex, and we are two brothers on a quest to bring you the perfect pairing of whiskey and comics.
That we are, sir. We've got a really fun episode today, and a little behind the scenes here, folks. This is take 2 at this episode. Whoops. What are we drinking, and what are we talking about?
So tonight we have paired the Chivas Regal Mizunara cask finish with another blend, if you will, of Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Super, super fun book. Now, quickly, why this is a redo is this was the very first podcast that we ever recorded.
Yeah.
Like 6 months ago.
I remember, I re-listened to it today. And I think one of the first things that I said was, well, in this new era of COVID and being at home, and as I was listening to it, I burst out laughing, being like, oh, yeah, about that.
So we recorded that a long time ago, and it was before we were doing video. We recorded a couple episodes of audio only, and then we started doing video, and then it was like, well, I guess we're going to re-record a couple. So we're going to re-record this one. But I'm actually happy that we're going to re-record this for a couple of reasons. When we first did it, that was the first time I had tried anything that had been finished in a Mizunara Oak cask.
Yeah.
We might put the audio up sometime as like a fun little look at our first episode we ever recorded, so you can hear me freak out about how amazing the whiskey was. Yeah. And because of that,
what did you go and do after? Because you liked the Mizunara finish.
I went hunting. It was like, I want to get more of this Mizunara because I really liked that oaky finish. So I went out and bought a bottle. And as some people know, we're doing these neck pour sessions where we're, cracking a new bottle and doing quick reviews. So I picked up this bottle, have recorded the neck pour session. It's going to be next week's neck pour session video. So come back for that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I come to that. But I've already had this much of it. So this is the Kaio.
I thought you just did the neck pour.
I know. I recorded the neck pour a couple weeks ago, and
may have shipped a couple samples to me.
I've also been sharing this with some people, but so I picked up it's a Kaio cask strength, completely matured in Mizunara Oak, because I thought the Mizunara Chivas was great. So tell us about Mizunara Oak, and then I'm going to start smelling this glass because it's been like 6 months since I've tried this, and I really liked it, so I'm excited to get back in.
You had to get another sample, right?
I did. Yes.
So,
Whiskey Dad sent me this one.
Whiskey Dad, yeah. He's got a bottle of it too, of course. What makes Mizunara casks so special and what makes them slightly different? So we are the Whiskey Geeks, so we're going to get a little geeky here talking about wood.
Buckle up.
Yeah, here we go. Here's the deep dive. So Mizunara is actually from the Latin Quercus mongolica, which is
you are getting geeky. I love it.
Yeah, come on.
I love it.
Yeah. So it's a subspecies of oak, and there's 600 different subspecies of oak that grow around the world. So the Quercus mongolica is one that is Eastern Asia, and so Mongolian oak, and then also grows in Japan, and that's where you get the Mizunara oak. So what makes it special is there's a couple reasons. One, it takes forever to grow. So what most whiskey is aged in is just white oak, like American oak, so Quercus alba. I like how I say Quercus with
I love it.
I know how to speak Latin and I put a little accent on it.
It's a dead language. That's probably how they sounded. No one knows.
Nobody knows. No one's going to call me on it. One language.
Someone's going to call you out on it.
It's the internet. Someone's going to, So those trees are fairly fast growing, and the other thing with white oak is they grow super straight. So when it comes for making lumber, for coopering when you're going to make casks, white oak is really, really good. This American oak, it's in all the forests in the eastern seaboard, United States, up into Canada. You've got these really nice, tall, straight oak trees, very few branches coming out of them at the lower levels, so you don't get a lot of knots in them. So it's real easy to make, to use for lumber, to make them into the staves, to then cooper into the casks. So it takes about 70 years for one of these oak trees to like get to maturity. It's all very regulated, you know, like you can't cut a tree down before 70 years, forestry regulations, which is all really great for conservation. Also really good for turnover. Like it's 70 years seems like a long time, fairly fast when you're talking about wood turnover for a forest. So when you get into the Mongolica strain of the oak, you're looking at 200 to 400 to 500 years before these trees can be harvested.
Yikes.
And they're really gnarly. There's tons of branches, so you've got knots all over the place.
I'm going to have a couple pictures coming up so people can see what the Mizunara trees look like. They're gorgeous.
And, I mean, they're gorgeous trees. I mean, if I had to have one in my backyard, I'd rather that.
Be pretty great.
And then the other thing is they're a lot more porous.
Yeah.
So, which is really good when you want to infuse flavor into a whiskey because there's a lot of interaction between the liquid and the wood. But on the flip side of that, something that is super porous, it is more prone to leaking. So when you get like a softer wood and you've got it in like a humid climate and you're doing some temperature control, the casks are expanding. It's really, it's porous.
Right.
So it can have the negative effect where you could like lose an entire barrel because it leaks. I mean, you would think they're checking off it enough that they wouldn't lose a whole barrel, but you're going to lose more than the angel share, as they say, which, you know, the expected evaporation as it matures.
Right.
So that's one of the, like, you know, it's a give and take. You get a lot of extra flavor, but there's this risk. Now, the other thing...
How much are they?
Because it takes so long. So you can get like refill bourbon casks, like first fill sherry, ex-sherry casks, stuff like that of the American oak. You can get for around I'm going to say $1,000. When I was doing the research before, and I'll admit I haven't redone it with the price of wood, having gone crazy lately. We're trying to build a fence in the backyard. Good golly.
We're going to be doing some like stuff as well, and we've had a couple people come over, and they've all said wait until next year. It's literally just not worth it. Yeah.
So you can get like about $1,000 for like an first fill, like ex bourbon, something like that. The Mizunara casks, you're talking $6,000.
Yikes.
So it is so much more. Now,
which is why there's not many whiskey distilleries who use them. Like when I went on my search to like, oh my gosh, like this is really nice. What else is done in Mizunara so I can find it? It's not a lot.
No, there's really not a lot out there.
There's not a lot of people do it. I think there's Glengassaugh. I think I'm saying that right. I'm probably butchering it. It's an Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
They do a Mizunara.
There's a Bowmore travel exclusive, which if you can travel and go to an airport and find one, good for you.
Yeah. Send us one.
There was one. Yeah. If that's something that you can find. So there is one of that, which, I mean, I really enjoy Bowmore. But I'm not sure if that's something that's even gettable at this point.
Yeah. Who knows?
So a lot of them are just finished in these casks, and it's because they're just so expensive. So doing something like a full age in a Mizunara cask is very expensive, which is one reason why, like for your Kayo, the cask strength Kayo, like it's a lot more than something like this Chivas Regal. Now, I still think it's very reasonable. It's right around the $80 mark. We're in Canada. It's the LCBO where we do most of our shopping. That's their price point. I'm sure you can get it cheaper in other places, but that's what it was. And honestly, for what's in the bottle, I think it's really fair. I really do enjoy this whiskey. It's very smooth.
Yeah, make sure you stick around. We'll get our ratings at the end of the episode like we always do. We'll rate this. But I haven't taken a sip yet, so I'm going to dive in right now. One thing that I will say is like a lot of people dunk on blends. Like a lot of Scotch snobs and like whiskey people like, oh, it's a blend, no thanks. Yeah. Or, I mean, I've been guilty of that as well. Like I know that when travel was a thing or when events were a thing, if I was at a conference for work or something, and I would ask like, do you have any Scotch? And they're like, oh, we got Johnny Walker. And I was like, oh, I mean, I guess, or if they had like the regular Chivas, then I'd be like, sure, I'll take it, but a lot of people dunk on blends, but like there are some blends coming out in the market now that are very good.
Yeah.
Kind of like these master blenders know what they're doing.
Almost like these guys that have spent their entire lives dedicated to this really know how to churn out a good dram.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, for people who are kind of new, and if you're into it now and you think like, oh, it has to be a single malt, like don't let the word blend scare you. Especially for this one.
So this is the regular 12-year-old Chivas Regal, which is then finished. It's tough to say. Like, the internet says different things. The bottle itself, like, it doesn't say right on it, like, exactly how long it spends in the Mizunara cask at the end. I've seen anywhere from like 3 months to 6 months. Some people out there will say anything less than 6 months. It's really hard to tell the difference of the influence of a cask because they're putting them in, like these large, like 500 liter barrels. So the interaction, like the surface ratio interaction between the liquid and the wood is pretty low. Yeah. So to get the influence, it takes a bit of time. Now, like for me, one thing that Mizunara is known for, it's higher in vanillin, which is like a chemical in the wood that imparts those vanilla. I mean, it's really handy that that's the name. Yeah. It imparts like the vanilla notes, some of the like the honey notes. Another thing that this one review I read, it said like Mizunara can bring those like this temple spiciness to the dram.
Oh, okay.
Which I think for this one, like this one's super smooth on the palate. So
it's really light on the nose too. Like when you first, I mean,
like you can really get right in there.
Oh yeah, do not be shy. I mean, people have been seeing me on this. I mean, my wife makes fun of me whenever she's like come into the kitchen sometime when I'm having a whiskey, and like I'm the type of person that will just bury my nose in, and I'll do it with like Ardbeg and like Octomore. I'm a nutcase like that. I'll just go right in. But this one you can definitely just power bomb on the nose. It's it's not. I didn't find it a complex nose by any means. It's vanilla. There's a bit of spices in there, kind of like your baking spices a little bit, but I just get a ton of oak, almost cedary in a sense, like that like a wet wood kind of,
like after it's rained, walking through the woods,
exactly,
like cedar bushes in the backyard, like just
Hint: watch our neck pour sessions. Because I think that's a Mizunara quality, because there was a lot of that in that one. But then on the taste of this, it's just warm vanilla, smooth, awesome. There's probably a bit more in there. We're talking and tasting, so I'll get a couple more notes in while you talk next with my next sip. But I mean, it's not the most complex whiskey, but it's like it's a great balance. It's a mix of a bunch of things. It blends well, which we'll get into shortly about why that works with the comic book so well. But it's very pleasant. Yeah. You can pick this up almost any day, any time of year. This isn't like a winter whiskey or a summer whiskey. Like, this is an everyday sipper, as I say. And
you don't need to be shy about sharing this one with someone who's a little newer to whiskey, or someone who says like, oh, I don't like the super sweet, or I don't like the super smoky, or whatever. Like, this isn't like offensive in any way. Like, someone's just going to pick this up and be like, oh, yeah, this is great whiskey. I like
for
like
whiskey. $80 too, if you're looking for something that's a little bit different for your own collection, for your house, or just to have on your bar to like give out to people when they come over. So this is a great option, I think. Yeah. For that.
And you can put the image up better, but it looks really pretty on the shelf. It's a really nice, like, kind of teal box as well, that just kind of pops as well, which is nice. Speaking of things that pop and look really pretty,
you're a professional podcaster.
Tell me
that was a segue and a half.
Why, not just why we paired this, but why we love this book so much.
I mean, this might go long, folks, because we're
about to really drawn on about how much we love this artist.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Freddie Williams. He's the reason why I picked this book up. I mean, we're massive Turtle fans.
Yeah.
being born in the 80s, growing up as kids in the 90s when the animated show and that first live action movie, when that came out, that was our entire world. Yeah. That was my entire world, was just turtles. Everything.
I took karate for 8 years because of that Ninja Turtles movie. Yeah. Like, that's no joke at all.
Yeah,
like, absolutely. Walked out, we were doing spin kicks in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And asked mom and dad to sign me up for karate.
Yeah. And I think that movie came out in 89, 90, something like that.
Yes.
It was around that.
Hey, look at the banner we just put up that tells you exactly when it came out.
Exactly. I have a very, very vivid memory of going to the theater to see this movie because we went opening weekend. My parents took us. Shout outs to Huron Marketplace Theatre, that's no longer in existence, in London, Ontario.
Yeah.
And we went opening weekend, and this was obviously before you could reserve a seat. And so it was just first come, first serve. And I remember you and Mom went to one part of the theater where you could find 2 seats. And then our dad and I went to another section of the theater, and we couldn't find 2 seats together. So I sat alone at 5 or 6 or whatever it was to watch this movie. I think Dad was behind me.
Close enough, but
close that he could see me. And again, this is probably going to come across sounding weird, but like the guy beside me was just like, "Oh, you're here that's your dad?" And he was just like, "I got him." And then he like shared his popcorn with me. Just the stranger gave me candy at a movie theater to watch.
What a nice, innocent time that was.
I know, right? He was probably like our age now, right? He was probably in his 30s. And just, I mean, I would do that, I think. Yeah. I would like to think that I would do that if I was in the theater watching something that I loved and there was a kid and I was like, "Yeah, man,
you want
some popcorn? All good. Let's go." Yeah. I was a chubby little kid too. So, so I probably ate all of his popcorn. Hey, if that was you, sorry.
Yeah.
So we love the Turtles. The two of us. And when I kind of got back into comics a few years ago, I was doing it was right around the time when DC did their Rebirth, like relaunch. So I was heavy into like grabbing books. That was kind of like our big push back in, was around that time. And so I was grabbing all of the Batman books, all the Bat Universe books. And then I just saw this cover for Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, #1. And the artwork, like the books basically just were jumping off the shelves with how incredible the cover was. And it's all because of Freddie Williams and his ink wash style. So his comic book art style he's probably not the only person doing it. He's the only one that I've really picked up, and the only books that I've really picked up that use this style. And I watched a video. I'll try and put the link in the description here for you, but you can go and look it up. It's Freddie Williams at San Diego Comic-Con from, I think it was like 2018. And it was like, he was at the DC booth doing like a live drawing thing. And then people were asking him about the ink wash style. And it's like, he has to use a thicker paper because it's all painted.
Yeah.
So it's like, he takes ink and he waters it down to like make the scale, like the gray shades that he needs. And he's painting, so he has to use a thicker paper than most comic book artists. And his process takes a lot longer because he's painting.
Yeah.
So he has to like let it dry and then go back in and do another round of shading and let it dry and go back. So the dedication that he puts into his pages is like second to none. I'm going to flash his Instagram handle because he is one of the best artist follows out there, I think.
Yeah.
He takes commissions, so you can get
commissions are incredible.
And people commission like bonkers cool stuff from him. Like I've seen some cool mashups on his page where it was like the Mandalorian and like Batman or something like that. It was like a comic book or like Iron Man and the Mandalorian. He'll do like mashup pieces, which are
it's super cool.
So cool. But yeah, Freddie Williams, the artwork on this book is insane. And like the story's dope as hell.
Oh yeah. I mean, not to jump right in, but I'm going to jump in a little bit. So what I really like about this comic is it doesn't get bogged down in like the science of why they're together.
Right.
It's like Krang in an interdimensional portal, and all of a sudden like New York and Gotham and this whoop, and like Shredder gets sucked in to Gotham City. And the Foot Clan comes with them, and all of a sudden there's this new villain in Gotham City, and Batman's trying to hunt down, like, what's going on here? And then, of course, the Turtles, like, and then they come over, and they end up meeting Batman because they're investigating the Foot the same way. They don't understand how they got there either, but they know the Foot Clan has something to do with it, and they're trying to figure out how to get back, and so are the Foot. So it's like, okay. And then all of a sudden, Batman and the Turtles show up in the same like science research facility and go at it.
Yeah,
and it's super cool. And there's like an immediate respect between the two of them as like practitioners of martial arts and like the ninja arts and the like sneaking, stealthing around. And it's great. And it doesn't get bogged down into the like, oh, well, it was specifically this type of science, and it's just like, we get it, it's a comic book, cool, let's get on with it.
Yeah,
and
let's watch Batman and Raphael get angry at each other.
See who can like outbrood the other.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, Raph is so Raph in this book.
Oh,
it's got to be so fun to write the Ninja Turtles. I think Raphael would be the most fun character to write. Because he's just a moody teenager.
Oh, it's amazing. He's like,
so
and of course he storms out at one point because of course he does.
Yeah.
It doesn't go well. Donatello, when he shows up to the Batcave, is like a kid in a candy store. He's just like
his mind.
He's like looking around. He sees the Bat computer and he's like, "How did you do?" Like him and Batman like nerd out on that side of things.
Doesn't Michelangelo like climb on a T-Rex in his?
I think he's on top of the T-Rex at some point. He's like, "You have a dinosaur."
Yeah. Oh man, it's so cool. So I think there's been 2 volumes, right? And there's 6 issues each.
Yeah, and a third's coming.
So
I love. Yeah, I mean, I loved the first one so much that
got that trade.
I got that second one.
Oh, nice.
Which is equally great. I mean, just we won't spend too much time on it, but Bane is heavily involved, and so is the Ooze.
Oh, you know what? I haven't read volume 2 yet, so that alone,
Bane with oozed, buddy.
That's pretty cool. All right.
So
super Shredder got nothing on Bane with ooze. Damn. Yeah.
So
that's really fun.
And like in the villain team up in this one, like Shredder and Ra's al Ghul like get together, and like and the whole like Gotham underworld, like there's like a little bit of the Penguins in there, and Shredder's like you're no real criminal.
Yeah, get out of here.
Anyways,
get out of here with your top hat and monocle. Get out of here.
It's super fun.
And we figured it was a really great pairing because it's like a mashup of 2 things. There's like the Asian influence of all of the Turtles backgrounds and Shredder, Orokusaki. Oh my gosh,
I was going to say I was just going to pull the card on you there.
That was close. Woo. And then Chivas, the blend of the blending of styles and just the blend of the Mizunara Oak with it. It's just a fun pairing. Yeah, it's a fun book. It's a fun whiskey.
Really enjoyed.
It's really great.
Really enjoyed it when we were making our list. They are. Well, hey, speaking of mashups, that brings us nicely to the other thing I wanted to talk about, like the other fun thing that we get into here on these.
Finish your
videos.
point. You were gonna say something, and I rudely interrupted you when we were making our list.
Oh, I was just gonna say, when we were making our list, this one it sort of jumped out at us because I had just received this bottle. I mean, we're talking a year ago now, for my last birthday. The Whiskey Dad had, gotten this and sent it up. So I really enjoyed it. And then you had actually sent me these books, like because you had all the singles. Yeah. So you had sent them up. I mean, whatever, like time's a flat circle at the moment. A while ago,
Jeremy Bearby for all of you,
exactly,
all you Good Place fans.
Good Place. Yeah. So it was just sitting there, and I hadn't read it. So when we started to go through about what we should pair with what, I said, well, like, I just got this bottle, like, what would work well? And then you said, well, like, those Ninja Turtle Batman books? And I was like, oh, of course that's what we should do this with. And then I read them and just plowed through all of them. And I don't know why I was waiting to read them. Like, they're just sitting in one of my boxes. And, like, you've got regular stuff that's coming in or someone gives you a new trade. So, anyways. So I finally read these, and I'd set aside a bit of time before I went and wrote the article, which check out the website. There's the accompanying article like we always do.
Bing, 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 bing. There it goes. Look at that gorgeous Final
like
Cut
magic.
Pro edit. I know.
And like I've got 2 young kids, so I'd set aside like the better part of a week of worth of evenings to sort of like, get into them and read them and enjoy a dram or two as I go. And I just did them all in one night because like I read the first one, was like, oh, that was awesome, and I just put that down and just immediately grabbed the next one out of the bag and just kept going.
Yeah.
And it was a super fun ride.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is an incredible, like a really good mashup. This is going to score high on my pairing scale, which will come later.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But mashups. We want to talk about mashups too.
mashups. Like what are some of the like your favorite comic book mashups? I mean, it doesn't just have to be comics. Like you can, books or in the geek world. Like what are some of your favorite team ups that have happened that you've read?
I got some good ones. Quick shouts to my buddy Orbax. I'm not going to mention Harry Potter because I've mentioned Harry Potter like 3 episodes in a row and he called me out on that. So don't worry, buddy. No Harry Potter in this one. I'm going to say the first one is Superman versus Muhammad Ali.
Oh, I love that.
That like classic Neil Adams drawn book with like all those celebrities in the audience
Around
watching
the
that
ring
fight and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's a super fun one. I love it when they bring in athletes into like a comic book world. I mean, does Space Jam count? It wasn't a comic book, but
I'm sure there is a comic book version of it.
Probably was. But yeah, no, that Muhammad Ali versus Superman was a fun book.
Let me jump in then because I had a sports one too. Have you seen the Charles Barkley versus Godzilla comic book cover?
No.
So Charles Barkley grows to the side of Godzilla.
I mean, just put it up online to see this, but that sounds incredible.
Amazing. So like Barkley is Godzilla size. There are buildings involved, and Barkley does have a basketball. So I haven't read it. I need to go and find this because I would love to see the two of them play basketball over top of a city.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm just actually now like rewatching all those MonsterVerse movies leading up to the watch of Godzilla King Kong. So I haven't watched it yet, but I've like watched all those other ones and I was like, oh yeah, like get Barkley in there throwing some elbows against Godzilla.
It'd be really funny. What are your thoughts on the other? So you watch like the Godzilla movies, like the Matthew Broderick one, and
no. So I just started with the
Skull Island or whatever it was.
No, the one before that. So like Godzilla, which was like 2014. So I started there.
I think I watched that on a plane, going to a conference or something like that. I think it was good.
Yes.
I mean, it's a Godzilla.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I mean, look, you're not going in to watch these thinking it's Shawshank Redemption.
No, of course not.
This is the Fast and the Furious version of monsters.
Yeah.
They're great.
Honestly, the Skull Island King Kong, I did watch on a plane coming home from Scotland.
Oh.
I do remember that. Actually, I was on the way.
It's basically all these movies are basically they've taken Marvel characters and they're in these movies.
Yeah.
So like Captain Marvel and Nick Fury are both in Skull Island.
Yeah.
And Loki. Sorry, like
that's right.
He's the main character. Like he's the main dude.
Right.
You know,
so a while ago.
Yeah. Anyways,
that's cool.
They're fine. They're great.
Back on point.
Back onto comics.
I know. So speaking, just because we were talking Freddie Williams, he did another cool mashup book, which was He-Man and the Thundercats.
Yeah.
Which Thundercats, another show that you and I were obsessed with.
Oh yeah,
as kids.
Like, I had the sword, right?
Yes.
Like I had Lionor's, like with the
we had a Lionor's sword and yeah.
Oh yeah,
Panther and Shitara and
just the best. His glove,
Mumra. It's a freaking dope show.
Yeah, but I mean, like the thought of He-Man and Lionor together with their awesome swords.
It's great.
Yeah.
That's another one. I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to pick that up.
Yeah.
Do you have another one?
I've seen some of his art.
I've seen the art because
art from that, and I was just like, oh my! Because I think it was actually on his Instagram the first time I saw like I saw him do a Thundercats
Right.
like commission. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's like, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other one that I had was Wonder Woman and Conan.
Oh, that's
and
rad.
so they get captured and they're forced to fight like gladiator style, like in a ring, and then they break out and they're being chased as they like run off through the jungle. And so I like that would be a super, like I think that would be a super interesting.
Yeah. A lot of people really, really love Conan and really love like the old Conan comic books that Marvel put out.
Yeah.
I've not read any of them, admittedly.
No, neither have I.
But I mean, I see them all the time when I go to Heroes. Shout out, my local comic store here. Like they've got tons of Conan books, and they've got wall books galore. And I see people like selling them online for like decent money.
Yeah,
and Conan just never really did it for me.
They've
sure the comics are fine.
Well, there's like a modern version of the Conan run too, right? Like there's whatever, I don't know, iteration it's in right now. But so I've seen like some of the newer, like the artwork that's in there. I mean, it looks really cool. I mean, you know, as a big
there's so many books to read.
Yeah. Like as a big D&D fan, it just really plays to my like barbarian, like Goliath barbarian with a broadsword running around.
It's very true.
So
that's very true.
You know,
so another company that does a really good job on the mashups, like IDW does a lot. They're the ones who do. They've got Ninja Turtles and like Thundercats and He-Man and stuff. I'm pretty sure that's IDW as well.
Transformers.
Transformers, yeah.
I think. Power Rangers.
Dynamite. Yes. No, Power Rangers is Boom.
Yes, that's right.
They're Boom Studios. Dynamite does a really good job as well. Like they've got like Green Hornet and like Lone Ranger and Zorro and stuff like that. And we one of our virtual tastings recently, actually, this is a cool one. We paired a whiskey with Django and Zorro, which was written by Quentin Tarantino and is the official sequel to Django Unchained, which I found. You found a place where you could read it for free online. I'll throw that in the description.
This super cool book.
It is awesome. Apparently, they're making a movie.
Yeah. Who knew? And like we were
randomly
just looking around, we were trying to find something to pair with something that was finished in what was it for?
It was the Glenmorangie Quinta Ruban.
That's right.
The 14-year-old Quinta Ruban.
That's right.
So we were delicious whiskey.
It was so good. Yeah. Something that had like that, like a Spanish influence, and I was like, oh, like Zorro would be cool. And then we found this book, and I mean, really enjoyed it.
It's a super fun book. But another cool one that Dynamite did is they did Green Hornet meets Batman 66. So it's like specifically the 66 Batman. And it was written by Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman, who they did the Hollywood Babylon podcast. And I'm a fairly big Kevin Smith fan. And
tell the story, because I remember you've got this, don't you? You've got this book.
So I found this book right when I had tickets to go and see Kevin and Ralph do a Hollywood Babylon in Toronto. And I am fortunate to know Kevin's original booking agent is a very good friend of mine. Boss, actually. I don't know. I work in the entertainment industry. And so he was his original boss. And so at the time I called him up and I was just like, do you think there's any way that I could, like, I got this comic book. I just would love to meet Kevin. Like we're going to the show. And he's like, I'll make some calls and see what I can do. And so we get through the show and then he texts me back and he's like, hey, like they sold meet and greet passes. Like it was a VIP thing. There was a ticket. Like they can't bring anybody back. And I was like, it's all good, man. That's fine. And then I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to try. So after the show, I see like the VIP thing and I go up to the tour manager and I was just like, hey, this is really weird, but like, is there any way you can just take this back with these people and just get them to sign it? And he's like, no, I can't, which also working in the entertainment industry, I would be really annoyed if I was running a show and some asshole came up and like, I'd be like, fuck
sign my comic.
Yeah, no. And then someone who was in the VIP overheard me. I was just like, hey man, I don't have anything for him to sign. I'll take him back and just wait right here. I'll go back to the meet and greet. He's not signing anything for me. I'll just get him to sign your books. And I was like, really? I'm like, do you want like $20? And he was like, no, it's fine. You're obviously a fan. Guy. For real. He's like, don't worry about it. So, hey, if you're watching, if you were that guy that saw the Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman Hollywood Babylon show like 6 years ago in Toronto, please get in touch because I would like to send you something as a proper thank you. So my wife and I, we sat, it was like 45 minutes or an hour and we were just sitting in the lobby of this venue. And I'm like, he stole my books. And she was like, I think he stole your books. And I was like, damn it. But then sure enough, he came out and he's like, hey man, here you go. And he got them signed. So I got issue number 1 of Batman 66 Meets the Green Hornet, signed by Kevin and Ralph. Oh, and then the artist on that book is Ty Templeton, who's from Toronto. And then he was at London Comic-Con the following year. So I got him to sign it too, actually.
Yeah. So that's pretty awesome.
Anyway.
Put up a nice image right in between the two of us here and show that.
Yeah,
off.
It's a weird nerd flex that I just had, but it's fun. Shouts to, you know what, comic book people they're super nice people. You know what, whiskey people are really nice people too. The amount of like this whole sample thing and like sending people stuff and like getting into tastings, like whiskey is for sharing, comic books are for sharing, stories are for telling. Like this whole community is fantastic. So
oh yeah, absolutely. Like, and one of the things the pandemic has really done is like sort of push the boundaries of like, oh, well, I can't have you over for a dram. So like, here's a sample bottle. And the amount of like Canada Post mail, bubble mailers that have been going back and forth. I mean, between us, and between us and our dad. Yeah. But like even just people in town here that I know. Like yesterday, I picked up a Lefroy, which is going to be Lefroy Carchus, which is going to be another neck pour sessions coming up. I grabbed one of those, and I've got a couple of friends in town who are big Lefroy fans who didn't get it. And I was like, oh, don't worry about it. Just check your mailbox in 20 minutes. Yeah.
And I just like pour a half ounce or an ounce sample and just whip it over to their house and chuck it in their mailbox. I'm like, call me when you have it.
Yeah.
I'll pour one and we'll just have a chat.
Yeah.
It's great.
No, it's super, super fun.
Yeah. I do have one more. I got one more mashup that I've...
Yeah.
Punisher goes to Riverdale to find some drug dealers in the Archie universe.
Yeah, that's got to be the most out there mashup. Yeah. And I can just imagine like Frank Castle stomping around in his combat boots through Riverdale High.
It's so good. I mean, it's cheesy and lame and kind of dumb, but it was a super fun book. I collect a lot of Punisher stuff. I'm a big Punisher guy. So
you don't say.
So I saw that and I was just like, yes, please. I need to read this. So I've got that.
Although I do have, was it called Back to School? Is there a Punisher book?
Probably.
I picked,
put me on the spot now.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyways, I picked one up for you that I saw on Kijiji up here in Ottawa ages ago. It's still sitting here. I found it the other day as I was organizing. And I was like, oh, right, I need to send that to Tim.
Oh, well, there you go.
Anyways.
Yeah. All right, we got to get our ratings before we get out of here. I still have some of this left.
Yeah,
kept it for the rating. Do you want to do whiskey first or comic book first?
Let's do whiskey first.
Yeah. Whiskey first. So what we do here is we do the Canadian Whisky Geeks, so the CWG rating system, kind of like CGC for comic book fans out there. So we'll do a mark out of 10 for the whiskey, a mark out of 10 for the comic book, and then a mark out of 10 for the pair together on how well they work. So who's going to go first for the whiskey?
Let me jump into the whiskey.
Hit it.
I really enjoy this. So, and for me, for when I'm doing my gradings or my like value, that always comes into it. Like how much does the bottle cost? And so like, that's one of the things that really comes into it for me. So for $80, that really bumps, like, I think that gives us an extra like 0.5 mark because it does come in under
same
the
thing
100.
Same thing happened in our last episode with the Bunnahabhain, or a couple episodes ago, the Teutsch.
Yeah.
We bumped that up because it's under $100 and it's a great dram for under $100.
So like I'm gonna come in at an 8. This is a very, very drinkable, very shareable. It's got some really nice sweet notes both on the nose and on the palate. It's not overly complex. Like I was leaning more towards 7.5, but it was that value proposition that bumped it up. So because it's something that is gettable, which also sort of plays into things, like you can find a bottle of this. So I quite enjoyed it. It's really smooth. It doesn't have like an overly long finish, but it's really nice. So yeah, I'm giving it an 8.
Yeah. I'm going to come in slightly lower. I'm going to go 7.5. For me, yeah, I think it's everything you said. It would have been a 7, but because it's $80 and it's relatively gettable, I think at the LCBO still. And the fact that it's like an everyday sipper, and it's, you know, it's all those extra things for like the super Scotch collector out there, people who are very, very serious about it. You know, it's probably going to be closer to that like 6.5 range, if we're being honest, you know, like it's like everything behind me is better. I like all this stuff, you know, Lagavulin 16, Glenmorangie, Octomore, Balwinnie Week of Peat, which I haven't cracked that yet. That was a birthday present, so I'll get into that. Boona 18, and I think it's a Macaloni, a Canadian one. You know, I prefer all of those. Yeah. But I think looking at it for what it is so shareable. It's cheap enough that you can share it with, and you don't feel guilty. It's not like this Octomore, which you drop $225. You just don't want to share it unless you know that they're going to really appreciate it. This is one that you can just kind of free pour it for everybody. Yeah. And it's like super welcoming to folks too, to kind of bring them into the whiskey world. Like it'd be great for bourbon drinkers.
Yeah, actually
a really great
intro for that.
A really great intro if you got someone who's just, I drink Blantons and Four Roses and Basil Hayden. You'd like, if you want to get them on the Scotch side, like this would be a really good,
that's a really
crossover dram. So for me, that's why I put that up to like a 7, and then with the value and stuff, I'll bump it up to a 7.5.
You know what? You've convinced me. I'm actually going to change mine and bring it down to a 7.5 for those exact same reasons of the other things that are behind me that are 8.5s. I can't have everything in 8. So yeah, I think 7.5's right on.
That's fair. I'll go first for the comic book.
Yep.
I love this. It's not something that I'm going to constantly pick up and read all the time. Those two. I mean, this entire run.
Great.
For people just listening, I'm pointing at Death Vigil trade paperback from Image Comics and the last Batman trade from the Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo run.
This Death Vigil, which Alex I also have because it's amazing.
Death Vigil, yes. So it's not that, but as like a pick it up, it's 6 issues. Like you said, you burned through it in a night.
Oh yeah.
Like it's great. If you can find, like, the trade paperback is probably run you $20 maybe. Totally worth $20 because you will read it more than just once. Or if you're like going through your comic book shop, like you'll just be paying cover. They might even be on a discount for single issues, and it's a couple bucks for all of them. Like you're looking at $15, $20 for a book that's Batman and Ninja. It's Batman and the Ninja Turtles. What the hell do you want? Yeah. So it gets an 8.5 for me.
Okay. That's exactly where I had it as well. It's and for all those, like, I mean, all those same type of reasons. It hits that nostalgia of like kid of the 90s, just loving the Ninja Turtles. So it really brought back that fun loving, they're cracking jokes, and then like Batman's brooding, but then he has a little bit of fun nerding out with Donatello, like I said before, and then it's got so many of those notes. And then as a big Batman fan, love that obviously. The story was really compelling, and I don't think we touched enough on the story when we were talking about it. Right. It's really well written too. Like it flows, it makes sense. There's like the complexity of the characters from like both worlds really do play really well together. It's am I saying this right? It's Tinian,
yes.
Tinian.
I was just looking it up because I was like, we didn't shout out the writer, and that's absurd of us. Sorry, James.
I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Like he does such a good job of bringing both worlds together in a way that makes sense but isn't overly complicated. So it's a super fun read. The banter back and forth between the turtles is spectacular. There's some really great Splinter Batman moments, which are really, really good. And then, like I said, when Ra's al Ghul comes into it in the later issues, him and Shredder have some really great moments as well. So like that's great. It's a beautiful looking book. The way that Freddie Williams does the like some of the combat sequences where it's like the shadow of someone like doing a backflip over top of the Foot Clan or something. It's like that transition. Movement. It's so nice. Yeah. So yeah, it's an 8.5 for me, and it's like creeping because I do love both of these things by themselves so much. Like it's creeping towards higher, but 8.5. Yeah,
that's cool. And the pairing together.
I've got the pairing at 8.5 as well, just because I do think both of these things work so well. Like it's a blended whiskey, it's a blended mashup. It's got the influences of the Far East and Japanese Mizunara Oak casks, and it's got those influences from the book with like all the ninjutsu and the martial arts and the turtles and Splinter and blah 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 blah. It's really good that like the blending on both sides I think really works. So it's an 8.5 for me.
Yeah, I'm just going to say ditto and we can move on. Because you pretty much hit all the spots. Yeah, no, it's great. All I'll say is like if you buy a bottle of this, like so you can for $80 the scotches, right? So you get a bottle of the whiskey, you get the book for $20. For $100, you are set up for a very good night or a couple nights. And then you can
hopefully a couple nights with the whiskey.
Loan the book and send a dram to a friend and have them do it too, and and enjoy it as well. So thanks everybody for checking out the Whisky Geeks. You can go to our website, thewhiskeygeeks.com. We're also on Instagram at the Whisky Geeks, just like it's spelled on our fancy shirts.
Does have an E in whiskey.
It does. If you want a shirt, email us. Our email address is thewhiskeygeeks@gmail.com. Also, everything's flashing on the screen at once. Ooh, technology.
It's just amazing. It's almost like you went to school to do this kind of stuff.
Kinda, right? We've also got Whisky Geeks Glencairns, these fancy glasses that we're drinking out of. So if you want one of those, you can email us as well. They're, what would we say, $15 Canadian?
Yeah, 15 Canadian.
If you're not in Canada, might be some shipping.
For you.
But it's like $8 or $4 for Americans. Yeah. But get in touch. And lastly, we need to thank and actually send a special shout out to our friend Call and Response. The theme song for our show is Something About Your Love from Call and Response. He broke his leg. So
oh no, did he?
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
he got hit when he was on a moped.
Oh, geez.
He's fine. I mean, he broke his leg, so sorry, Colin. But we've chatted. Tanny and I have chatted with him, and he's doing okay. But
oh man,
yeah, rough. So
Rest go up,
buy
Colin.
go buy his stuff, please.
Make him feel better. Yeah,
go to colinresponse.com. Hit him up on social. I'll flash all of his social stuff here too. Yeah. Go wish him well. His recovery, because poor guy. Anyway, that's gonna be it. You got anything else you want to say? No. Anything you want to plug?
I think you hit the outro really nice.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean,
subscribe.
Subscribe where you can subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. We love chatting about this stuff. So if you've got other mashups that you thought would be really cool, let us know either in the comments down below or hit us up on Instagram. We'll be posting some stuff there about this pairing, obviously, as it comes up. So yeah. Thanks so much.
And make sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel and the podcast, because we are doing 2 episodes a week now. Every Wednesday, Thursday, there's going to be something that we call the short box, where we do a quick comic book review of something that we have in our own personal collections, either one of us. And then on Fridays, we've got either this full podcast episode that you're listening to, or we have our neck pour sessions, which are 5 to 12 minute episodes where we are getting a brand new bottle of whiskey, cracking it, pouring the neck pour out of it, and doing a quick little review on it. So make sure you're subscribing and ringing that bell, as they say in YouTube land.
Smash that button.
Yeah, just to get notifications when the new content drops.
Awesome.
So yeah, this is fun, man.
Round 2.
Round
This
two.
is good.
This is better than round one. Maybe
Better
I'm
than
not
the
gonna
first one.
post the first one that we
Nah,
did.
forget
Maybe
that
it's-
first one.
Yeah, it's gone. We have to do one more re-record and we'll be fine.
It was garbage. I feel like I was sitting down like on the other side here,
Right.
holding my phone up with a voice memo thing because I
true,
didn't have
you
a
were.
microphone.
Yeah.
And yeah, we don't need to post that. We've had a few more reps. It's probably
Well,
a
I mean,
little better.
if you've seen our other, please go watch our other videos. You'll notice that our surroundings look a little bit nicer in this one now
Yeah.
too. We've got proper lighting, and both of our backgrounds are better than just gray walls
Or bright blue wall.
or bright blue wall. Yeah. Anyway,
Anyways,
we're
thanks so
rambling
much.
too much.
Yeah.
Thanks,
All right,
folks.
we'll get out of here. And remember, guys, Scotch and stories, they belong together. Cheers, bud.
Cheers.